Hey everybody, it's May 5th. I'm Adam and this is your daily dose of today. Today I want to speak about being intentful and specific with your language, both spoken and the language of your mind. We speak a lot as a society in hyperbole. We use phrases like always, never, every time. And we use those in a manner that is meant to actually accentuate or to over dramatize some point we're trying to make. Very seldom do we actually use this in a literal sense. And where this can actually hinder you when you're trying to pursue your goals is that this language, if you speak it, it's how you think it. And if you think it, it's how you speak it. This language can actually keep you from being able to have an honest dialogue with yourself about what's keeping you from your goals and achieving those goals. A great case in point is between spouses in the home. How many times when you've been in an argument with your spouse does someone break down and use or start the argument with something like, "You always treat me like a jerk when your friends are around." Something like that just came to the top of my head. Or, "You never thank me for preparing dinner for you after coming home from work." Now, it might actually be true that you always do those things or you never do those things. But based on studies that I've read in books on this type of subject of human interaction, it's likely that it only happens a fraction of the time. And in truth, a small fraction of the time. But because we're human beings, we only ever focus on the exceptions or the things that are outside of the norm. So if I'm being accused of those things and I only do those things, say, 5% of the time, that's still a significant amount of the time. I should never make my spouse feel like a jerk in front of my friends or whatever I said. And I should certainly be thankful every time that she prepares dinner when I come home from work or what have you, whatever the scenario is. But the truth be told is I'm probably thankful 95% of the time. Just arbitrary thing. Honey, if you're watching this, I'm thankful for everything that you do. I really am. But we use that language as a way to try and over dramatize a point because we're angry and we're hurt. Now, the reason why I say it's important to be exact and precise with your language when you're thinking about these things is because when you use hyperbole like that, it actually makes it makes your argument wrong. And so it actually makes it almost impossible to move forward and resolve it. So if you come at me with, "You always," but truth is I only do that a fraction of the time, what are we going to argue about? My response is going to be, "I don't always, blah." And so what are we fighting about now? We're fighting about whether I do that always or not. That's where our argument disagreement's at. As opposed to if it started off, "You know what? You're usually great most of the time, but there are times, and maybe it's been increased lately, here recently, where I felt unappreciated for the stuff that I'm doing." That conversation right there, I tell you what, hits me like a 2x4 right in the face. Because the argument isn't about that I always don't thank her or what have you. But now it puts the responsibility on me that, wow, like, sometimes I can be a real jerk. So, by the way, I'm not airing mine and my wife's dirty laundry here, though. I'm sure maybe I am hitting home for her because I'm far from perfect as well. But I'm just giving an illustration and using myself. Now, what does this translate to your goals? Well, the reason why I want to bring this up about pursuing your goals, obviously personal relationships, this applies to any sort of personal relationship, with your spouse, with your significant other, with your kids, with your business relationships. But I'm more today. The reason I want to bring this up is because I'm concerned about the conversations you're having with yourself. I would like to do this, but I never follow through with the diet. I always quit going to the gym. I never, all these things are every time I go to do this, something happens. That type of hyperbole, just as it's destroying your interpersonal relationships, it's destroying your relationships with your goals. And believe me, that is a tight partnership. You have to be in lockstep with your goals. You have to be in lockstep with your tasks. And when you're speaking that negative and untrue language to yourself, you regurgitate it to yourself, you write it down in your things to yourself, it's in your journals or what have you. Guess what happens? You manifest that and make that true, and you never get started. So, yesterday we wrote down those goals, and I want you to think about those goals, think about your attempts to do that previously, and I want you to speak in intent and specific language. Don't use hyperbole. Don't use words that say all the time, every time, never, those things, because they're very seldom true. If they are true, they have to be 100%. It's never almost always. That doesn't exist. It's either always or sometimes, right? And get specific when it happens. This has been your Daily Dose of Today.